What's going on, guys? My name is Steve. Thank you for stopping by my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to the top 10 Britishisms that confuse the rest of the world. I've never actually heard the term Britishism before, but I understand this to basically mean things that are very unique to British people that people outside of Britain probably don't understand or may not understand. I'm really curious on how many of these I will understand at this point, considering I've been on this journey for a while, versus how many that it will still completely confuse me. Anyways, I came across this video and I thought it'd be a really fun one to do. So let's just go ahead and dive in and learn about what are some of these Britishisms that may still be confusing to me and possibly the rest of the world.
For this list, we'll be looking at the British behaviours and mannerisms that often leave the rest of the planet scratching their heads, and hopefully will supply some sort of clarity in the process. So, here goes. Number 10. Euphemisms.
If I say, would you like to grasp my rod, that's innuendo.
Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, classic British politeness can get in the way of us Brits expressing our true feelings and saying what we actually mean. And while other countries do use euphemisms, few throw them into casual conversation quite as willingly as we do.
That's not a euphemism.
So if we reckon that someone's kicked the bucket, that someone hasn't actually kicked anything, because they're dead. If someone's getting on a bit, then they're old. If they are not the sharpest pencil, then they're one sandwich short, and by that we mean they're not the brightest, as in, they're dumb.
I've definitely noticed that since I started this channel. Growing up in the US, I can't really recall euphemisms being used all that often. Obviously, like you said, they are used occasionally, but I've definitely noticed since I started this channel that British people use euphemisms a lot more than we do in the US, at least in my experience. I don't know about other countries, but in my experience in the US, it's definitely something that's not really used all that often, to be honest. I wonder what the reason for that would be. It's interesting. I kind of like euphemisms. They're a little bit fun. They're a quirky way to say something you were already going to say anyway. But yeah, guys, if you know the reason behind why British people use euphemisms so often compared to other places, please let me know in the comments.
If you're strong and stable, you're probably on the brink of catastrophe. Pretty simple, really. Number 9. Plane, train and bird spotting.
Is it just us who are like this? The British, I mean. Are there any train spotters in Sicily?
Similar to how the Hollywood paparazzi might stake out a spot for hours to get a snapshot of the likes of Kim Kardashian or Leo DiCaprio, a contingent of hardy Brits do the same for the southeastern service to
Really?
bridges. Hey, it's still more
Interesting,
entertaining
man.
than Kardashians and certainly more useful. But it's not just train spotting that tickles British fancies. There's also the exhilarating rush of plane and bird spotting.
I know a cracking owl sanctuary. How about it?
Which gives a whole new, more literal meaning to the phrase, is it a bird, is it a plane? Because
I don't think I know anybody who ever did train spotting. And I don't really know anybody who's ever actually done bird spotting either. I know people like my grandpa, for example, really enjoyed having birds come around. So he'd put up bird feeders and bird houses and things like that. But as for I've seen in some movies where people have binoculars and they'll go out and they'll go and, watch for birds and things like that. But I don't think I've actually ever known anybody who actually goes and does that. So is that really a very popular thing, with British people? I enjoy trains. I don't know. I do like the look of trains. Birds I don't have any problem with birds, but they're definitely not my thing. They're definitely not something I'm really that interested in. But trains, I definitely have an interest in them, mainly because I didn't have any experience growing up with them. I'm not sure I would be a train spotter, like going somewhere just to see a train come up, but I can understand the interest with them. That's an interesting one too. It's not something that I haven't much experience with, but people have their hobbies,
well, it's both. What luck! Thank heavens we didn't write Superman, right? Number 8. Using 2 taps instead of 1.
This one doesn't confuse me anymore. I understand this
wasn't
one.
Enough to blow the minds of non-Brits in the first place. Once they're inside, anyone who's not from these parts is soon struck with the shocking realization that there's not 1, but 2 taps. As cultural stereotypes kick in, they ponder whether one is for lager or tea. But no, rather than hot and cold water coming from the same place, for most Brits it comes out of two entirely separate openings. They're usually labelled or colour-coded, but what if they're not?
You know, I've read into a few different videos that brought this subject up, and I wonder how popular it is still to have two taps in your houses. You know, I understand that new houses are, you know, they're built with usually one tap instead of two. And I also think that probably if you get new, you know, you get a older house, you know, you put in new plumbing, I'm sure it probably only comes with one tap at this point as well. But one thing I'm still kind of confused on is it true that, is it the hot water or the cold water? One of those, I think it's the hot water, you don't actually want to drink from, you know, because of possible bacteria from a tank or something like that. But the cold water you can drink from. I think that's how that was. Maybe it's the opposite. I'm not really sure. But if someone would please let me know, is that accurate that one of those you probably don't want to drink from and the other you could if you wanted to? Obviously, I wouldn't go up to drink fresh, hot water. But, well, considering it's hot, I wonder how hot the hot taps are. Are they extremely hot to the point they're killing the bacteria? I don't know. Anyway, let me know in the comments, you know, if it's accurate that one of those taps you shouldn't actually get water from. And that probably would mean you probably wouldn't want to brush your teeth with the water coming from one of those taps as well.
You could soon find yourself scalded or uncomfortably frozen. Blimey, the fun. Number 7, hot drinks in high summer.
Oh yeah, I don't
Very
understand
hot.
this
It's too hot.
at all.
What's the temperature? No, I'm not 12.
Record-breaking high temperatures. Everyone's flocked to the beach like sweaty sardines. Shops have run out of electrical fans. Doctors' surgeries are inundated with heat stroke complaints. And yet, you still can't say no to a cuppa, can you? The planet could be hit by a solar flare direct from the sun, and someone somewhere would still be sticking the kettle on. While anyone from outside the UK would likely take the obvious action of hydrating themselves with an ice-cold beverage in extreme heat, Brits aren't stereotyped as tea drinkers for nothing. And it's scientifically proven to help cool you down anyway. Just saying.
Perfect.
I definitely don't understand that one. I've known people who have drank coffee, you know, in the mornings throughout the summer or whatever. I've never known anybody who in the middle of the day wanted like a hot coffee or something like that. I know people do, but that definitely not me. I don't even drink hot beverages in the winter, let alone the summer. I'm just not a fan of heated beverages, except the one exception is, you know, an herbal tea every once in a while. If I couldn't sleep or something like that, taking an herbal tea that's good for anxiety, for sleep, and things like that. It's not so much that I'm drinking that to enjoy the tea. It's more about kind of the medicinal aspects of it, if you will. Which, honestly, you know, I go through phases. I might do that for every day for a week and then not do it for like 3 months. But outside of that, I don't drink tea. I don't drink coffee. I only drink really water, and I have my shake every day. And other than the occasional juice or soft drink, very rarely, you know, it's pretty much just water for me. So definitely don't understand the whole hot drink in the summer thing, but you know, to each their own, man.
I'll get the kettle on.
Number 6, car boot sales. In a technological age, you can order goods from anywhere in the world, at any time, straight to your doorstep. Whatever the cost, condition or necessity of any item, it's but a button click away from being yours. But even the heady highs of contemporary living won't stop a Brit from setting their alarm to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to see what bargain they can land in the middle of a muddy field from out the back of somebody's car.
£5.
Well, it is the Holy Grail. Fiver. Take it or leave it.
The argument that it's easier to trade online doesn't deter the sellers either. Because why bother making daily treks to the post office to drop off endless eBay parcels when you can just hand it over for cold hard cash on a windy Wimbledon common?
French oak, 1890s, gateway to Narnia. Lovely marquetry work on the doors. £2.50.
That would be my wife's thing. She loves, well, I don't think I've ever seen what you guys would consider a boot sale, which is, it looks like, you know, people pull up to some kind of parking lot and there's a bunch of people with cars that they sell goods directly out of their trunk. But we have a lot of things called yard sales or garage sales, which are the same thing, except in someone's yard, driveway, or garage. And my wife loves those. She goes to those all the time. So I understand the selling aspect of that. I can even understand the selling out of a trunk. It's just not something I've seen happen very often here. Do you guys also do yard sales and garage sales as often as what they call boot sales? Or is it just mainly boot sales that happen like that?
Number 5, sarcastic protest slogans.
Down with this sort of thing! Careful now.
While we're all too used to protesters brandishing signs decorated with angry slogans, straightforward ire isn't really our style. Instead, we like to get creative and crack a few jokes for good measure. This particular trend was no more evident than when US President Donald Trump made a controversial trip to the UK in 2018. Such headings on display were Trump as welcome as a World Cup third place playoff and that hair is a Horcrux. It's yet to be confirmed if J.K. Rowling herself was holding that particular placard, or if Voldemort's face lives on the back of Trump's head.
I don't think that's just a British thing. I mean, maybe it is. I haven't experienced it, so maybe it's over the top compared to what I see in America. But, both sides of the aisle, they do the whole really hard political signs and things like that. Me, I'm kind of middle of the road. I don't really care either way. But but I don't think that's just a British thing. I really don't. Seems like that's an American thing as well. But like I said, I haven't actually experienced it in the UK, so maybe it is a little more popular there than it is in the US.
Number 4, the sending and receiving of greeting cards. Okay, so this one's not something that only happens in the UK, but few places write, post or proudly display anywhere near as many cards as in Britain. Having an array of birthday cards lovingly assembled across a shelf or mantelpiece just isn't as common elsewhere. Nor is stringing up your Christmas cards to dangle across the living room wall, or having multiple stores along most high streets dedicated to the token gestures in their various forms. Because don't forget, it's not just the obvious cards that Brits exchange, there's also congratulations cards, sorry it's late cards, thank you for your thank you cards. Yeah, the list goes on.
Happy Christmas. And oh God, my writing's getting worse than ever.
I mean, like you said, we do have greeting cards and they are used, but I must say, I don't really have a ton of experience with sending or receiving greeting cards. We do, on occasion for a specific purpose, there's a birthday from somebody that doesn't live nearby, or maybe somebody graduated or something like that, or a wedding, that you couldn't go to, so we do send them. But I must say, it doesn't seem to be something that's extremely popular here. I know they're more popular with some people than others, but he made it sound like that was extremely popular in Britain, which definitely would be different than what I'm used to in America, by far.
Number 3, not tipping as standard.
This one I know, yeah.
In some parts of the world, and in North America especially, tipping is practically mandatory. But here, it's definitely optional, and it's an option to be thought long and hard about before taking.
I don't tip.
You don't tip?
No, I don't believe in it.
It's true that should someone from the US choose to work as a waiter in London, for example, they may be left dumbfounded at not receiving a few extra quid from clearly satisfied customers. However, most Brits will, sometimes begrudgingly, pay up out of plain old-fashioned politeness, and the lack of a guaranteed tip means that British bosses don't have an excuse to supply unreasonably low wages. For every cloud, eh? Number 2.
That is something that would take me quite a while to get used to. I actually like tipping, but I remember when I was in Asia, it was something that some areas is kind of expected and other areas is not. And so when you go to the areas it's not, it always felt so weird to get up and not feel like you had to leave a tip, or maybe you just left a little bit of a tip because it was, it wasn't expected at all. It wasn't necessary. They got paid, you know, a living wage. In the U.S., it's obviously different. And, you know, waiters here, they get paid, I think, on average, about $2.13 an hour. So you can imagine if you're making $2.13 an hour, tips, you know, it's how they make the majority of their income. So definitely make sure to tip when you're in the U.S., you know, but I can understand that it is a convenience factor there, or more than just a convenience factor. It's just, it's nice knowing that, you know, if you have a certain amount of money, you know, you could just go out to eat with that certain amount of money and don't have to worry about the tip. But I'm so used to it, it doesn't really bother me, but I can understand how people from countries that tipping is not the norm, it can definitely be odd, maybe even annoying. But yeah, anyway, let's continue.
Saying sorry when you've not done anything wrong.
Hi everyone, my name's Jim, and I have a fear of apologies.
Sorry?
Sorry, but Brits do tend to say sorry a lot. And a lot of the time, we aren't even that apologetic about whatever prompted our apparent regret. You might say it when you've simply misheard what someone has said, at no fault of anyone's.
Interesting.
You might start asking for a favour by strangely apologising for it first.
I'm sorry, you've got to be f***ing kidding.
Okay!
Hey, even when someone else clearly has done something wrong to us, like barging past us in the street, we'll more than likely find ourselves saying sorry to them, and basically apologising on their behalf, so they don't have to. Please, well, just tell us you forgive us so we can all move on. Ooh.
I don't really have much to add on that, but that is interesting. Definitely completely different in the U.S. But I'm trying to think, do I actually do that? I don't know. I'd have to ask my wife, do I actually do that? Do I say sorry a lot or not? I don't actually think I do. But obviously, if I do something wrong, I will absolutely apologize for it. I'm one of the first people to apologize for something if I did something wrong. But I'm just trying to think, do I actually use the term sorry very often?
That did sound a little demanding, didn't it? Sorry about that. Number 1, creative swearing.
Creative swearing.
Being the cheeky gits that we are, us Brits have come up with various unique swear words that, if used to insult an outsider, can even leave the outsider not realising that they've actually just been insulted. The daft sods.
Oh, everyone knows fast benders.
For example, if someone calls you a pillock or a numpty, chances are they don't believe that you're very bright. And if you don't understand that, then your numpty status only increases. Elsewhere, we have a myriad of misdirecting terms to describe how drunk someone is, or was. And when it comes to voicing our own frustration, there's a plethora of pretty weird ways to do so.
Bollocks. Bollocks is a handy word.
Do you agree?
I tend to agree with the ones that I know for a fact. Or, for example, these last two, I kind of already picked that up somewhere else. And I must say that I think that British people are probably quick to apologize, kind of like I said I was. But I also think they are very quick to insult as well. That's the impression that I get. Insulting seems to be a part of the, you know, conversations, so to speak. And I think creative swearing comes with that creative insulting and those, I don't know how to describe it, almost like just creative conversations, you know, and that goes back to the euphemisms as well. And I think altogether, one thing you can put together from some of the things on this list is that British people probably have some very unique and interesting conversations between the euphemisms, the sorry, saying sorry a lot, and the creative swearing. You know, I've seen quite a bit of that since I started this channel, and it's definitely different from what I'm used to. But you know, I've definitely noticed it since I started this channel. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Please click that like button. Feel free to drop your comments or suggestions about this video or others. And don't forget to subscribe to continue to follow me on my journey to discover my British and Irish ancestry. Until next time, guys, peace.